All right, welcome, guys. Welcome to the Cavalry Academy podcast, where we share all of the secrets on how to manage your maintenance work orders from start to finish. Whether you are a property manager, maintenance coordinator, a maintenance manager, or you're a landlord, we will teach you everything you need to know on how to handle maintenance the most efficient and the best way so you can grow your business. I'm joined by Diego, our co-host, COO at Cavalry. He has a decade of experience, started as a maintenance manager, went all the way up to started as a maintenance coordinator, went all the way up to a maintenance manager, and now is a business owner in the maintenance industry. Diego, welcome.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to being able to teach you guys as much as possible, whether you're a property manager, maintenance coordinator, an assistant to a property manager. It doesn't matter. We're here to share every secret that we have when it comes to handling maintenance.
Well, Diego, last time we spoke about maintenance coordinators, so where to source them, what questions to ask, what character traits that we're looking for in a maintenance coordinator, because it's not for everybody. So we discussed all of this, basically an introduction to maintenance coordinators, and and we always talk about maintenance coordinators because usually those are the people who actually manage the maintenance on a day-to-day basis, right? We know that way too many property managers have to do this on a daily basis, and we're trying to fix the industry by providing a solution. But this is not a pitch for us. So, Diego, this episode, I would love to discuss the structure that one should follow when handling multiple work orders. It's easy to handle 5 work orders and not be organized and still kind of manage to pull it off, right? But once you get to 10, 20, 50, 60, 70 open work orders, you need structure, right? You need structure to be able to visualize what needs to happen. You need structure to give you, just to keep your sanity. So what are some of the things that we implement and that everybody implements who is successful with maintenance? Tell us a little bit more. What are the main things?
Yeah, so when it comes to handling maintenance, you have to have, like you said, structure, SOPs, guidance, right? And you need to do a lot of up training constantly. That's what's going to allow you to be successful, and it's going to reduce the amount of time that you spend on maintenance. Because maintenance, whether you like it or not, it's going to consume most of your time if you're handling it. It's pretty much a full-time job. It's very, very selfish in that particular way. So, whether you're a property manager, maintenance coordinator, or an assistant to a property manager, you need to be ready with structure and SOPs. So, one of the things that we've done throughout multiple years, and that we continue to do at Cavalry, is structuring your day based on steps that you need to follow. You have to have structure, guidance, and SOPs. That's what's going to allow you to reduce the time frame that you spend on maintenance. So at Cavalry, all of our maintenance coordinators, they have to look at the statuses, and those are new service request, assigned, pending scheduled, pending estimate, approved, pending invoice. And then once everything is complete, once you have the invoice, the pictures, then you have completed, right? Everything has been taken care of, and you have confirmed that the job has been done. That structure is going to allow you to be efficient and for things not to fall through the cracks. Because a lot of times, what I've seen in my past is a lot of individuals tend to work out of emails, right? And when they do that, a lot of things fall through the cracks, and you're not as efficient. It takes more time out of your day. And so you fall into a trap where it doesn't allow you to be as efficient as possible. So having that structure, it's going to minimize the amount of time it takes for you to handle maintenance on a daily basis.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess that also kind of means that they're gonna need software, right? And I don't want to talk too much about software in this episode, but you need something to either structure those different statuses. Technically, I guess you could create folders in your email as well, if you don't have the funds for software or whatever it may be, you're just starting out, you need something. You could technically also create folders with those statuses in your email, and then just move the email threads throughout your structure. So I guess software is not 100% needed, but it is advice, right? um Now,
Yeah, definitely.
so we discussed, you mentioned all the different statuses. Is it Do maintenance coordinators follow those statuses in that particular order when going about their day, or is there a different structure, or how do you see it?
So it's definitely a start, right? But you can go one step further. So, one of the things that we like to focus on are emergencies. Why? Because emergencies, they're the top priority when it comes to maintenance. You have to mitigate whatever the issue is. So, let's say there's a leak at a property. Well, you have to take care of that leak, right? You have to stop the water from damaging the home further than it already has. So, you have to mitigate that, and you also have to keep the tenant calm. Not only the owner, but also the not only the tenant, sorry, but also the owner, right? So you have to focus on emergencies. That should be your number one thing every single day. Once you tackle the emergencies, then you can take a look at your new service requests. Why? Because some of these new service requests might have emergencies in them. And so, if you start to look at your emails, or if you start to take a look at your oldest service request, you might oversee that there is a leak, um, an HVAC that's not working, and it's the summertime. You might oversee those type of service request, which would hinder you from being efficient. And then you're gonna have tenants that are upset, giving you a call nonstop. You're going to have owners that are upset because maybe there's more damage to the home than there should have been, especially if there's a leak. And so it's a domino effect, right? So if you start your day with emergencies, new service request, and then you go through that flow of the steps that we just talked about, or you also go from the oldest to newest, that's what's going to keep you very efficient, and it's going to have less escalations, because those escalations, whether you like it or not, they do take more of your time to handle, to calm the upset tenant, to calm the upset owner, or even someone from upper management wanting to know what's happening and why they received a call from an angry tenant. So all of those
Mhm.
things go hand in hand, and if you do them the way that I just explained, it's going to reduce the amount of time it takes you to go through your first round of service request. That first round shouldn't take more than 2 hours a day, in the very beginning, of your day.
Yeah, man. Knowing how much work it is, maintenance, and knowing how much work gets into it, like I'm really impressed with property managers who are able to do this themselves. But they will never be able to do it as good as somebody who's doing it full time, right? So even if you can manage getting away with touching every work order once a day, which will already be a huge accomplishment for any property manager who has 100 other things to do that same day. um, yeah, maintenance managers or maintenance coordinators, they are able to touch on work orders multiple times a day, right? So let's discuss this. How many times a day do you feel like a maintenance coordinator should touch on every work order a day, and why? Why multiple times? What's the point of that?
Yeah, so maintenance is super selfish, right? So you do need to handle it full time. Yes, we know that most property managers, they handle maintenance on their own, but they also have other things that they need to focus on, like accounting, resident services, growing the business, owner customer service, and so on, right? So you can't fully focus on maintenance, and maintenance usually takes 80% of the time, right? But if you're able to touch your service request multiple times a day, we ask our maintenance coordinators to touch them at least 3 times a day. It's going to make your day so much more efficient. It's going to make the service requests go a lot faster. because a lot of times, so let's say you come in the morning, you touch all of your service requests within the first 2 hours of your day, right? You're going to get answers from those service requests, whether it's the vendor giving you an update, whether it's the tenant giving you information about some troubleshooting steps that you tried, whether it's the owner approving an estimate. They're going to go ahead and update you in a sense. So you're going to be able
Mhm.
to take all of those answers. You're going to have time to clean out your inbox if you're using Gmail to handle the particular communication of your business, and you're going to be able to plug it into the service request that you're that you're handling, right? So that's another touch, right? You're updating everything that's currently happening. So
Mhm.
after that, what we like to have our maintenance coordinators do after lunch, most of the time, they come in and they take a look at another round of their service requests, right? Because they could, you know, look and see what's pending, what can be done. Maybe you follow up with the vendor again. Maybe you follow up with the owner by giving them a call or texting them, and it allows you to be more efficient, and it puts a little bit more pressure on who you're waiting to get an answer from. If you're able
Yeah.
to do that, you're going to see that your service requests are going to be moving on a lot faster, and they're going to
Mhm.
be getting closed a lot faster. Because if you only do it once a day, you wait for a response and then you don't take action until the next day, well, you just lost 24 hours, right? And
Yeah, and not
if
only
you're able
that,
to,
I wanted to talk
yeah,
about that too. It's not only do you lose the 24 hours of, not informing whatever you were informed about, or but also, let's say, for example, you get an approval for an estimate, and rather than um, sharing that information with the vendor the same day, you do it the next morning. Now you have that whole afternoon or that whole day that other people call the vendor to schedule appointments. So now you're not only moved up 24 hours, what all of the other appointments that are set in between that as well, they're not just going to take you in, necessarily. So you're losing a
yeah,
lot more time than that, and that could be days. Potentially, you never know. It could be nothing, but it could also be 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and now your work orders are open 2, 3 days longer than they should be for no reason at all, right? So everything we do in
exactly.
maintenance is like a snowball effect. Everything. And I think whoever is running maintenance work orders plays such a big role. But it's a that snowball, everything, it's so many little moving parts that you don't see it, but we know it has an effect. For example, being friendly to a tenant, a nice email rather than a cold email, being friendly to a vendor, that can change your business 100%. Because don't be fooled, without your vendors, you will get, bad maintenance and those bad reviews and those homeowners who are leaving your company, right? So all of these little things are in control of a maintenance coordinator or whoever is handling the work orders. All of these little things can impact your business so much. So it's super important for me to have somebody full time doing maintenance and to do it in a structured way.
Yeah, definitely. You actually touched an amazing point, and that is building relationships. So
Mhm.
a lot of times when we go into a new market, when we start working with new property managers, what ends up happening is we get this feedback from the vendors like they have been treated poorly, right? Where they don't even want to work with some of the property managers that we're onboarding, right? And so building a relationship goes both ways. You cannot just expect vendors to drop everything they're doing to handle your particular work order because they have other clients. They have owners reaching out directly. They have other property managers reaching out and so on. So you can't expect them to give you the best service if you don't build a good relationship with them, if you don't treat them, correctly. And that goes not just with vendors, with tenants, with owners. Building a relationship and building trust is super important in this industry because if you provide good customer service, if you let them know that you care, well, they're going to work with you instead of against you, right?
Hmm.
At the end of the day, everyone is working towards the same thing, right? The tenant wants the issue fixed. The vendor wants to finish as soon as possible so that they can go ahead and get paid for the work that they did. The owner wants that service request handled in an efficient manner so that they know that their tenant is taken care of, and that
Hmm.
they don't have to worry about getting an upset tenant wanting to leave the property because their service requests are not being handled accordingly, right?
Hmm.
So it all comes down to time and efficiency of the structure, but also the customer service that you're providing. You decide how
Yeah.
your day wants to be, and if you provide poor customer service, you're going to get poor relationships. So
Hmm.
that's a really key component to maintenance.
Yeah. Well, I assume no matter how good you are at maintenance, everybody has a breaking point, right? And by breaking point, I mean your maximum capacity. So, how many work orders a month or open work orders at any time do you? What is the sweet spot for a maintenance coordinator to be at?
Yeah, so we typically look at any maintenance coordinator that's doing maintenance full time. They should be around 60 open work orders at any given moment, right? That means that they should be, they shouldn't have more than that number so that the customer service doesn't drop, right?
Hmm.
Now, you can push that number up to 80, but that's cutting it, very, very tight. Why? Because your
Hmm.
customer service is going to drop slightly. You're not going to be able to be as detail oriented because you have to tackle all 80 service requests, right? But
Yeah.
once you get
What's the
past
first
that,
thing that goes usually? What's the first thing that you see going with customer service, or when maintenance coordinators are pushed too much? What's the first thing that you see being slacked on?
yeah, so the type of messages or the type of calls that you have, since you're just wanting the answer, you're not providing as much customer service. You're not being as nice in on your day-to-day uh, messages. Like, instead of
Hmm.
saying have a wonderful day, have an excellent day, I hope you have an amazing weekend, now you start to put thank you, or regards, because it saves time, right? But even those little things go a very long way. And so you don't want to put someone in a situation where they're not being as efficient when it comes to customer service, because you're overworking them, right? So it's good to keep
Hmm.
that number. The golden spot is around 60. You could push it up to 80, because high season, and maybe somebody's out or so on, but you don't want to surpass that 80 number mark. Now, if you're a property manager, because a lot of property managers, like we mentioned, they do their own maintenance, you never, ever want to get over 30, because you have so many things to do. You have billing, you have, to grow the business, right? And if you're focusing 80% of your time on maintenance, right? And then you're disregarding everything else, well, you're not going to have a successful growth. So it's important to keep that number extremely low.
All right, Diego. So, I mentioned earlier that, we have multiple clients. We have the tenants, we have the homeowners, but also vendors. They're actually, if everybody in the PM industry would see vendors as their clients, I think a lot of the problems would be solved, because the vendor PM relationship is as important as a tenant or a homeowner relationship, 100%, right? We often see in the industry, as you said, that vendors feel underappreciated, or they're paid late, or all of that. So, I what are some of the things that we can do in the industry to feel, or to solidify the relationships with vendors?
Yeah, so you actually, that's a perfect talking point. So building those relationships um, takes a couple of different aspects to it, not just the customer service, right? You just said, paying vendors. One of the things that we're trying to teach the clients that we work with is how important it is to pay a vendor on time, right? Because a lot of clients, they usually have the net 30 terms, right? But net 30 doesn't mean I'm going to pay you until the last days of those net 30. You know, you do have that time frame because we know it's maintenance and a lot of things can go wrong, getting the funds and so on sometimes, but you want to try to pay vendors the first week that they just completed that job, right? If everyone works together towards paying vendors in a timely manner, well, guess what? They're going to make you more of a priority because they're going to know that those funds are coming, a couple days after the job is complete, right? But if you're having them wait, they're not going to make you a priority, no matter, it doesn't matter how much work you're sending their way. It also comes down to that. And when it comes to customer service and building relationships, it's very important to see a vendor as part of your team, not as not as someone that's working under you. They're working with you to accomplish the same task, right? Because if you just expect them to drop everything and to do everything for you, but you're not providing, a good relationship with them, a good rapport, well, they're not going to see you as an important individual. If you take the time to give them a call and to ask how they're doing and to see if they're booked up or if they can handle more work orders, they're going to appreciate that. Because a lot of times in this industry, what happens is vendors don't want to decline work because they feel like they're going to look bad in your eyes. And so it's important to have a open line of communication where you can ask them like, hey, how booked up are you? And let's say they're booked up until next week, Thursday, Friday. Well, you're not going to want to send them a lot more work because then they're going to schedule that after that. But sometimes they're afraid of letting you know, hey, I'm very booked up. Can you stop sending that many work orders right now until I catch up? So being able
Mhm.
to approach them, ask them, it's going to have a very positive impact in the way that you handle maintenance because they'll be able to let you know what's happening, in their company. And then you're
Mhm.
going to notice that has a positive impact because now instead of sending those work orders to them, you can probably send it to another one that you trust as well. And maybe they have more availability during that period of time. So,
Yeah.
open line of communication, good customer service, paying them on time, and not treating someone like they're less than you. It's going to have a super important impact in the way that you handle maintenance.
Yes, relationship with vendors super super important. It is not to be underestimated. It also, like you said, that open communication is so important. It makes them feel like, okay, it's okay for me to say no, because if they don't dare to say no out of fear that you won't send them any more work, then now it's going to pile up anyway, and then you start a different snowball. So yeah, vendor relationships super important. Paying on time super important. That is probably, if you as a property manager or a PMC, if you can implement a system that makes sure that you pay as soon as you possibly can, you will win as a PM company. Spread the word will spread amongst vendors, and you will be seen as the best PM company to work with. Because I can tell you, we work with many PM companies. There is not that many who have a great system in place that make sure that they pay within 2 weeks for the vast majority of the work orders. So if you can do that, you will create a great name in the industry. A great name in the industry goes a very, very long way on all sides. All right. So Diego, over the years, what have you seen? What are some of the worst things you've seen in terms of getting owner pay, or well, in contribution? And what are some of the best things you've seen? What works best?
Yeah. So that's actually a really great question. One of the things that you need to do is you have to be proactive, right? You have to approach the owner even before the job gets done, asking them for funds. That's going to reduce the amount of time it takes you to actually pay that work order. Because if you have the funds, as soon as it's completed, you can go ahead and release them. You can go ahead and pay the vendor. So let's say you have to replace an HVAC system, right? One of the most expensive items in a home, and you have to, you have to take care of that in a timely manner, right? Well, you're not going to wait for the job to be done to ask the owner for funds. You can do that from day one, right? So as soon as you know the system needs to be replaced, you can go ahead and be proactive. You can contact the owner and say, hey, Mr. Owner, can you please make a contribution for X amount so that we have it, so that we can go ahead and proceed to have this done. Now, there are particular emergency situations where you just can't afford to stop, until you get the funds to give the approval. But you can be proactive and ask for those funds, starting day one, so that you're able to receive them as soon as possible. A lot of individuals end up waiting until the job is complete, which you already lost a couple of days for you to receive those funds and then for you to be able to pay out that particular vendor. So being proactive, it's as simple as that. Now,
Mhm.
a lot of property managers also have a not to exceed amount, and that not to exceed amount is usually the amount that you have on it's usually the funds that you have on file from the owner to be able to handle any service request that comes in. But sometimes you don't have those funds because maybe you utilized it for another issue that surfaced. And so you also have to be proactive, asking the owners for the funds before you dispatch that work order, especially if it's not an emergency and it can wait maybe 1 2 days. So being proactive, asking for those funds. Don't be afraid to ask for them. Until the job is done. Don't wait that long.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it, right? I mean, you know that it's going to have to be paid. So why would you wait? And the homeowner knows it because he's going to prove it, prove the estimate or whatever it may be. So there's really no reason. And something that, I mean, I assume everybody really knows, but something you need to understand about, the small business owner is cash flow, right? So you have a handyman, you're sending them 20 jobs on average. Let's say, I don't know, it's a $500 job on average with $200 in material. That's $4,000 a week, right? And as a small business owner, that's a lot. If you have to wait for that for a whole month, now you're looking at $12,000. But you still need to pay your bills. You still need to get your new materials, which is the most difficult, right? It's not so much waiting for the bills to be paid, but also to get new materials so they can take on more of your work. So that's really where vendors get hurt the most, and it's super crucial that everybody understands that. Um, yeah, so respecting, and that can all, that snowball can be minimized by having a system in place that where you prioritize your vendor pay. Not like, when you have a system in place where you pay once a month, you're not taking vendors into account. It's just as simple. Like if your booking department only pays once a month, that's a problem. It just simply is. Because yeah, you're going to work with some companies who can easily do that. They can do 90 days, but the majority of your business owners, or at least the affordable ones, because you also like a smaller handyman versus a general contractor who would hire a handyman, and they can manage the cash flow better, but the prices will be different as well. So if you want to save your homeowner some money as well, then that goes hand in hand with that. So always make sure to pay your vendors on time. Change your systems. Take a look at your systems. If you're a property manager and you're seeing that bookkeeping is only paying once a month, twice a month, I mean, I guess it's acceptable, but once a week, I really feel like you should do, because twice a month, if they just miss that date, now you're looking at 3 weeks, 4 weeks, right? So, yeah, no, If you're a property manager, you see that payment is done not frequently enough, try speak to the business owner, try speak to bookkeeping, see if you can change that, highlight the importance of vendors getting paid fast. It will benefit everybody, and it will benefit your business. I guarantee it, because it's the number one annoyance for vendors, which is getting paid on time, and then also bad communication or great communication.
That brings up a super important point, and that is saving owners money.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we're actually going to be talking about in the next podcast, which is extremely important for your property management company, because it can make or break a property management company if you're not working on saving the owners money, or if
Mhm.
you're price gouging, as they call it in the industry.
Yeah, great. No, I think it's a great topic for our next episode. So, how do you save homeowners money? You see, everything goes hand in hand. All these little moving parts, they all go hand in hand. We just spoke about vendors. Vendors, if they like working with you, if you're getting paid fast, you're just going to get better pricing as well. And then there is strategic partnerships, all of that. But we'll discuss all of that in our next episode. I'm very excited about that one because, especially with the economy going the way it is, or the market going the way it is, it's always important that you as a property manager can ensure your homeowners, like, hey, we do volume, we have the best prices in the industry, we have very tight relationships with our vendors, and they give us the best pricing. It's super important that you can say that. It is definitely a selling point for your business as well. So I'm very much looking forward to discussing that next week.
Definitely.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I hope you're starting to see that there is a lot to talk about. Everything is connected, and we're hoping to help you guys unravel all of this information and help you guys one episode at a time to implement some of these nuggets into your business and hopefully improve.
Yeah. See you on the next show, guys.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. See you on the next show. Peace.